What up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. We have one of my favorite videos today, and it's an anti-haul video, also known as a shelf cooking video. In these videos, what I do is I just share some inspiration on how we can all avoid the grocery store. I used to be so bad about if I had an ingredient that I needed for a specific recipe, I would run to the store. Let's give an example from this video. One night, John and I were both craving Linguiça hot dogs. We had the Linguiça hot dog, but we did not have the hot dog bun. Now what would happen is I would just send him over to Publix because we live pretty close. He'd run in and grab some hot dog buns, but what else would get picked up during that trip? Publix would let us know at that point, and we'd probably walk out spending $35. So in these videos, what I do instead is I take those one-off things that I need in the moment that I'm craving or whatever the case may be, and I figure out how to make it at home. We're making a lot of bread together. We even make some homemade granola, and then I share some lunch and dinner inspiration as well. So if you've been trying to reduce the grocery budget, come up with creative recipes that are still really delicious, this video is totally made for you. If you happen to be new here, hi, how are you? How's the family? Thank you so much for giving me a chance and clicking on that thumbnail. On this channel, I do a lot of recipe inspiration and I do grocery hauls. So if you like the anti-haul and you want to go completely opposite and check out a haul, please feel free to check out the rest of my channel. And if you enjoy the vibe while you're here, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. It means the absolute world to me. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. My friends, I have to admit that I am officially in my bread making era. One of my favorite things in life right now is just getting out the KitchenAid mixer in the morning and getting some bread proofing for the day. It's the simple things in life. I had attempted the sourdough life, but I can't keep plants alive, so it's no shock that I couldn't keep a starter alive. So if you're like me with the FOMO of people talented at that, have no fear. We can still make bakery style bread, even though we aren't as cool as they are. What we are making first are some hot dog rolls. We had some Linguiça hot dogs my parents had blessed us with, but I didn't have any buns, and as I mentioned, I don't want to go to the store for just a single thing. I figured they couldn't be that hard to pull off, and man was I right. The full recipe for everything you'll see today will be down below, but basically I started off with some warm milk, which I had heated to about 110 degrees, and I added some sugar and yeast into that. I stirred that up and let it sit on the back counter for a few minutes while I got the flour and salt together in the mixer with the dough hook. Once that yeast had activated and was all toil, boil, bubble, I streamed it into the flour mixture. I always like to take time to swirl it as I go so the sugar doesn't get left behind in the bottom. Once that was added, in goes some melted butter, an egg, and some honey. If you don't have a stand mixer, you could totally do this with your good old biceps, but I'm not gonna lie, the KitchenAid really is one of my favorite staff members for this purpose. Once the dough was soft and elastic, I just greased the bowl a little bit and then covered it with a towel for an hour or two. Then I came back and formed the dough into 8 rolls. I covered those up again and let it rise for another hour or so. It's basically just when I remember I had a task going, very flexible for the busy, distracted person's life. Once they had puffed up, I preheated the oven to 375 degrees, and then I had whisked together an egg and a milk, and I brushed those over them. They baked in the tanning bed for about 15 minutes, and as soon as they came out, I was extra and brushed them with a little bit of butter. I love doing this because it softens the top just enough. John went ahead and built the hot dogs for us. We kept it simple, just some ketchup and some cheese. They were so good. I want to make this again for sub rolls. This dough right here comes out almost like a pretzel bread. It's one of my favorite breads I've made so far. I've recently shared a couple meal prep videos you might want to watch where we've been making snack packs that have yogurt and hard-boiled eggs and fruit, and I've been loving adding granola to it. But we had run out of the delicious store-bought granola I had purchased, and I have made my own granola in the past, and I figured I had everything on hand, so let's just do it that way. So I went with a peanut butter honey vibe for it. I started by melting some peanut butter with honey, maple syrup, coconut oil, vanilla extract, almond extract, cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. The almond is totally optional, but for me, I was going for almost like a cookie vibe, and that's what the almond gave us. Once it was all melted together, I got myself a big sheet pan out with a silicone mat, and I threw down 3 cups of rolled oats, a cup of slivered almonds, half a cup of sunflower seeds because I had those on hand, so why not, and half a cup of hemp hearts. I tossed it all together and drizzled the peanut butter sauce over the whole thing and did my best to stir it and coat it all evenly. I baked it for about 20 minutes, stirring it halfway through. Once it had come out and cooled a bit, I had also chopped myself some super dark chocolate to add to it, and I even tossed in some craisins. I had some leftover Bon Maman jars with the cute gingham tops, so I stored all of the granola in there, and it was a total vibe, and it worked out great to add to our snack packs for the week. As you guys know, I truly do love cooking. I'm passionate about it. But people do ask me if I ever get sick of cooking or if I don't feel like cooking, what is my go-to meal when I don't want to end up in a drive-thru? And my answer is usually either a crock-pot meal or a sheet pan meal. Here, I had some linguiça left over and some taters that were starting to give me the side eye from the pantry. So I went in the direction of sheet pan meal for this night. My favorite thing about sheet pan meals is it's such a good chance to clear out the produce drawer. With the potatoes, I added some bell pepper, zucchini, and yellow squash. My favorite for these sheet pan meals is to make a honey mustard sauce to drizzle on them. It just consists of melted butter, a little Dijon mustard, honey, and red wine vinegar. You could also use avocado oil or olive oil if you want to skip the butter, but I sure didn't. I was meal prepping this during the kids' nap so we could just reheat it for dinner later, knowing that the night was going to be crazy. And since I was doing all the work of dicing the veggies, I also got myself a lunch together for this day and even a meal prep container for the following day. For this, I used the Amy Lou chicken burger and I added some feta cheese and balsamic glaze, and it was quite the vibe. These sheet pan meals yield so much, and it's a great way to pack all the nutrients in. Next up, I wanted to share another dinner that we turn to if we just don't have the mental capacity to get creative. This could possibly seem like a crazy combination to some, and it's a really simple dinner, but sometimes that's the inspiration you need. John just cooked up some spaghetti for us, and then to it, he added a lot of butter, some cream cheese, marinara, and some sliced cheese. We still had linguiça left on hand as well because I had only used 3 links for the sheet pan, so he air fried some of those up and then used the kitchen scissors to slice them right into the spaghetti. This one is definitely a comfort meal, not like crazy on the nutrition, but you can stir in some broccoli if you wanted to, but this is one we look forward to indulging in every so often. All right, guys, we are getting together a little lunch bowl for myself. And then John elected to kind of do what I'm doing, but we're gonna do a burrito or wrap, I guess, instead for him. But I am gonna be using up the last of this yellow squash I need to work through. I don't need the whole thing for our lunch, but I am also gonna be prepping a Crockpot Marinara, and I like to include as many veggies as I can in marinara when I make it. So I'm just gonna get that started and kind of multitask. So we're gonna do some of this in here, and then I'm trying to decide how much I need for the lunch portion. I'm thinking this whole thing for lunch because it's both John and I. Because the squash tends to shrink down. Okay, so I'm just gonna spritz that with some oil. This is avocado oil, but it could also be olive oil. We're kind of like in between them right now. And then I have this everything but the elote seasoning. I think that's perfect because we're gonna build kind of like a Tex Mex style bowl. I wish I had beans. I don't have beans. Well, I lie, I have beans. I have a huge bag of black beans, but they're dried, so I'd have to soak them and all of that. But I'm gonna pop this in the air fryer. Okay, I'm also gonna get some romaine chopped up. This will be for this lunch and also to refill our little salad bar container there in the back. Oh, you know what? I wanna wash this. I forgot that I like to wash it a second time because I've found literally, even though I wash it when I first get it from the store, I've like found bugs and dirt inside. I'll rinse this out too in case anyone was stressing about that. Anyways, I like to wash it a second time to make sure whatever is in between the leaves is gone. Okay, I'm gonna go get that rinsed up. Now we are working on just getting some onion diced up. I have a veggie scrap bag in my freezer. I'm gonna go grab that because all of this can go in that veggie scrap bag, as well as a little bit of yellow squash I have. So this is what the veggie scrap bag looks like. I just collect all of these type of things here. And then when I go to make chicken stock, I have plenty of veggies to flavor it. I think I should make a batch pretty soon because this is full. And I just store this right in my freezer. And whenever I have like a rotisserie chicken, or at Thanksgiving when I have turkey left over, stuff like that. So I'm gonna save this for random cooking as I need it. And this one I'm going to chop up and get right into the hot tub back there for the Crockpot Marinara. I already have the Crockpot on low to get it warmed up for us. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop this in here for right now. We'll use it to build the bowls after and then store the rest in the salad bar. That'll be nice for quick dinner. All right, now we're gonna work on this Crockpot Marinara real quick. Just do a few cloves of garlic in there. We've got a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill this like halfway with water to get the rest of that out of there. Don't wanna waste any of that goodness. I've got a can of tomato sauce that I'll do the same thing with. We have a can of diced tomatoes going in there, and I keep all the juices with that. I've also got a 6-ounce can of tomato paste. We like it pretty concentrated when we make the marinara. If you don't like a concentrated tomato flavor, I'd probably start with like 2 tablespoons of this. If you have like the squeeze tube, that's even better. But for us, we like to just go all in. I'm gonna stir that so it comes off the spoon a little. And I'm gonna do a couple tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2, maybe I'll do like 3. I will check that later to see how the tomato is, but I do like to get a little sugar in there to balance out the acidity of the tomato. Next, I'm just gonna do some salt and pepper. And then today I'm going with these 2 seasonings, but you could just use whatever you have on hand. Italian is obviously the vibe. This everything but the leftover one has like celery seed, onion powder, garlic powder, almost like a poultry seasoning. And this one, aglio olio, is, if you've been on this channel, you already know, one of my favorites. It's like a zesty Italian blend. So it's got like crushed red bell pepper, red chili pepper, minced garlic, sea salt flakes, and parsley. And then I'm gonna go in with some good old Italian seasoning as well. And it is a legal requirement that you stir this with a wooden spoon like a nonna, so be sure to do that. I'm using my left hand because of the camera angle, so if it looks super awkward, that's why, because I am right-handed. But everything's fine, we're doing great. That's officially good. We will check this for the seasonings later, but we're just gonna get it going low and slow for a few hours for dinner tonight. Okay, now I'm gonna air fry the wrap for John. So I'm just gonna cut the chicken burger in half and lay it down this way, like so. You guys see it well? Sure. Then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little cheese on there for him so this can get all cooked, and then we'll make the toppings for him. And you guys know how I am. I usually like to build for 2 days. We're gonna see how we can spread this out. So I've got these quinoa packs, obsessed with them. I am testing out measuring food. So if that is uncomfortable for you, I apologize. I want to kind of get really specific, so I'm testing it out. That is 3.9 ounces. Pour that in there. Zero it out. Let me make sure I'm not touching back there. Okay. And that's 4.1. We are gonna do a little bit of this lettuce over here. I'll put some lettuce for myself for tomorrow. I'm not gonna have a protein to include in this, so tomorrow I'll either do like canned chicken or something else from my fridge. We're gonna do some corn. Do like 1.5 ounces or something. 2 ounces, okay. So now that I know how much that looks like, we'll just guesstimate for tomorrow. The rest of the corn I'm gonna store in this to include in our salad bar. Perfect if we wanna do like a taco salad or something. We are gonna do a little bit of cheese. Going for like an ounce of cheese, I think. Looks good. We are gonna do a little salsa. Go with like 3 ounces of that. And then to kind of make it like a creamy dressing almost, I'm gonna do a little bit of cottage cheese so I can mix it with that salsa. Okay, and then I'm gonna spin my bowl and we're gonna do a little bit of the yellow squash. Save some for us for tomorrow, and I'll save the rest for John's plate. And then the burger itself is pretty exact, so I'm just gonna dice that up right over here. I love to use kitchen scissors for this and like make it into strips. I don't know why, it's just a vibe when you go to eat it. I don't make the rules, okay? So we have ourselves a beautiful little bowl there. We've got a prep set for tomorrow. And then let me build John's real quick. All right, John's gonna eat a little bit of corn. Do some lettuce. For his, I'm gonna do this Southwest Ranch dressing. He loves this one. I'll just kind of fold that for him like that. It's gonna be a little messy, but that's fine. And give him some of the squash. Not as pretty looking as mine, but that's okay. It'll be delicious for him. So that wraps up our little lunch session here. And we will be making spaghetti squash for dinner tonight using this marinara sauce. And then we have plenty of extra. What we usually do is put it in mason jars, fill it only like 3/4 of the way, put one in the fridge, one in the freezer, because it does expand in the freezer. And then that's perfect to thaw whenever we need marinara, but we just happen to have worked through our entire stock. So I'm excited to get some prepped for us. Every time I make spaghetti squash, I ask myself why I don't make it more. It's such a light and delicious dinner option that feels like really high volume. The hardest part of this, honestly, is the arm workout and splitting it in half and then scooping out the seeds. After that, you pretty much can just add some oil to it, season it if you want, and plop it face down on a sheet pan. It roasts in a 400-degree oven for 35 to 45 minutes. While it was getting its suntan on, John went ahead and browned up some ground chicken for us and just added the Crockpot Marinara after blending it smooth. Once the squash is roasted, you just take a fork after it's cooled a little bit and shred it onto your plate. And then we topped it with that ground chicken marinara and a little bit of cheddar and Parmesan cheese. This is another one that yields way more than you expect it to, so plenty of leftovers the next day, or if you're feeding a large family, or if you have people in town, or whatever the case is. Both spaghetti squash and ground chicken are so affordable. It's the perfect budget-friendly, nutritious dinner combination. Guys, I feel like it's been a little while since we came in here, and it sure has, because I cleaned this off the last time. All right, let's see what we got. All right, up here we've got plenty of chicken stock, and we also have, oh, I should have this for lunch sometime this week, a lobster bisque. All right, this is what I wanted to see. We got some chicken tortilla soup. I know there's a lemon herb chicken soup and then a like Puerto Rican soup in there. I'm leaning towards lemon herb. In here, we've got a deep dish pizza that's been there forever. I totally forgot about this. We have stuffed shells. We do have a couple of steak left. We've got a chicken lasagna, and we've got some marinated chicken thighs in here. Good to know. We're doing better than I thought. I thought I was gonna come out here and it was gonna be empty. All right, we've got a thing of chicken thighs. Didn't know I had that. Also, these chicken cordon bleu bites. We didn't like love those. I think we got them at Costco. Okay, we've got, this is like our snack or treat drawer. Ice pops, some ice cream. We've also got, oh, I didn't know we had some of these left. Is this an empty box? There's 2 of these guys left here and a single Johnny's Pop. And then down at the bottom, we've got some Ninja Creamies. So that is everything in the freezer. I think I'm gonna grab the lemon herb. Yeah, we're gonna go for this lemon herb chicken. I need to get this in the crock pot. So what I did was I just put it in some warm water just to get it so it wasn't so stuck to the bag. And then I'm just gonna plop this right in the crock pot as is, and then let it kind of melt down because I have several hours to allow it to cook in the crock pot. So I'll just plop that in there just like that. Last up on the menu for this video was the lemon herb chicken soup you saw me pull. I shared the recipe for this in a freezer meal video, which I will link down below for you. I'm pretty confident it's illegal to have soup without delicious bread to go with it, so we got that mixer back out with the intention of making a crusty, delicious baguette to have with the soup. So we start out again getting the yeast bubbling. This time it was in warm water and some sugar. And that hangs out for 5 or 10 minutes, and I combine some flour and salt in the mixer for myself, streaming that yeast mixture in once it was ready and letting the KitchenAid do its thing. I covered her up and let her rise for an hour or 2. You'll notice in this one, there's no melted butter going in at this point and no oil because we want that crusty style baguette. I got out a sheet pan with a silicone mat and I split the dough in 2 once it had rised, and I formed a rough rectangle and then started folding the dough into itself and then formed it into a long baguette shape. I copy and pasted this strategy to the next one and then covered those back up for another hour with a towel. Once those were puffed to perfection, I preheated my oven to 450 degrees and added a sheet pan to the bottom rack to start to heat up. Once I was ready to add the bread, I put 1 cup of steaming hot water in that bottom rack to create some steam while it was baking. Each of the loaves got a few diagonal cuts right across them before heading into the oven. This one baked for about 20 minutes, but I updated the recipe in the caption to say 18 to 22 minutes because I probably should have taken it out at about 18 minutes because it got a little over golden here. It was really hard for me not to add the melted butter to this one because I just love doing that, but I really wanted it to have that crusty feeling, so I'm glad I skipped it. I sliced these up and added some really good quality softened butter to it. This was such a comforting and delicious dinner that felt like it was way more effort than it was. Since we had the bread, I didn't add rice or pasta or anything to the soup, but I was thinking this would be perfect served over a little orzo. So if you recreate this, that could be the direction you go. Thank you so much for spending your day with me. I hope that I've inspired you to take a look through the pantry, the fridge, the freezer, see what's been staring at you a little bit too long that you can get on the table tonight. I hope I delivered whatever you needed when you clicked on the thumbnail, and I hope you have a magical day. Bye.